Welcome to my highly professional recording studio. How to implement the strategies regarding time from the 7 Habits book. So, what was awesome about reading that book was, one, being rewired about key elements around time management. 2, having completely new perceptions around it. 3, and noticing the integration possibilities of or just a new way to teach into it. So hey, why don't we just begin and see what we got? Okay, cool. So time management, generation 1 that they talked about was generation 1 is having some checklists and some notes, right? So the checklist is simply tasks, and we're going to call it tasks as well as checklists. And checklists I'm going to refer to as the recurring nature of tasks. For example, think of a house that you own, a business that you owned. With all of these responsibilities that we have in every area of life and business, each one of those has things to do recurring in nature, otherwise it will fall apart, right? Look at our body. How often do I need to get my hair cut, skin checked, yearly body check, right? Daily workouts. All of it is recurring in nature. And there's also tasks, we'll refer to one-offs. Anyhow, generation 1, having something to get out of the head and to put it in those 2 places. So I'm going to put those under the tools category. For now, generation 2. In comes scheduling, planning, being ahead. It's just another tool. It's falling under the tool belt of a project or task manager, recurring nature of things. And now we have a calendar. Cool. 3 different tools that get stuff out of our head so we can use places where we can actually effectively manage this and keep this together. Generation 3 comes in. Priorities. Yay, priorities. In my experience, priorities are important, and they just always shift and change depending on just what gets thrown at us in life. I think a great system is adaptable. In fact, survival of the fittest does mean that you are adaptable. The more adaptable that you are, the more you're likely to survive in any environment, any species. So, rule of thumb, have a system that is so flexible and adaptable based on anything that may hit you at any given time. Like, let's say a pandemic came in and completely derailed you and your business, and you got to use these tools to actually flex and change. Or you're going to be the aircraft carrier that's going to take so long to change, and you're never going to adapt, and therefore you're never going to succeed. So I'm not going to dive into much of that world, but we'll tap into it later. Generation 4. Generation 4 got into the quadrants, right? We really got into the quadrants. And we had these 4 quadrants. And it was about first things first. So in quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. First things first is all about quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is the stuff that is important, not urgent. For example, my health, number 1. My health, my self-love, how I take care of this vessel and myself so that I'm in optimal performance. That's one of those things in category 2. Also, right now, as part of my MLP experience, the incubator, which I want to call as BA, is just one of my important things too. It's like my ticket, my current dream to financial intelligence and abundance, as well as totally aligned with absolutely what I love doing and making an impact in the world. Anyhow, so we have the 80-20 rule, which is 20% of the things that we actually do in life is 80% of the juice. So that 80-20 rule, which is really falling into category 2. So how do we learn to prioritize and put that first into a healthy system? 1, let's step into all the no's of the world, because all of these like urgent but not important, as well as like not urgent, not important, like that stuff flies at us all day long. And if we're not saying no to that properly, then all of that stuff is just chipping away so fast at the time that we get to spend on the things that matter most, so that we are in optimal like PC mode. For example, think of a day and how many things you're saying yes to, and how much time it's going to add up at the end of the week, even when you don't have enough time to do that. Seriously, notice when you say yes to that one thing that it may not be important for right now or even the week, it could throw you off 10 minutes. Then another thing's 5, then another thing's 15, and just like that, you added 4 to 7 hours of stuff trying to squeeze that into a week that's already full. Anyhow, let's get back to the habit, which is first things first, which means that 80-20 rule. How do we get to use that first of the day? Now, how do we stop the BS? How do we stop the other things from coming in? Fundamental rule of time management, which is the Inflow's mastery. The Inflows is there. Rule number 1, which is, I'm just going to call it Inflows. All that stuff you have fun is. 1, an inbox is nothing but a convenient, organized structure for other people's agenda for your life. All of those non-important, normally non-urgent things. Say it again. An inflow is nothing but a convenient, organized structure for other people's agenda for your life, which is the 80%, which that has very little soul to what you're actually looking to accomplish. It's like the 1 and the 3 and the 4 categories. So how do you stop it? 1, phase 1, turn off all of your notifications except your phone calls and except maybe your text. Period. Stop it. Turn it off right now. In fact, if you'd really like to take it to a next level, automate your do not disturb so it turns on sometime at night, but more importantly, that it doesn't turn off until roughly around 12 p.m. Can you manually go check and look at it? Absolutely. But what if you set your system up for success so that all those other crazy nonsense things in your phone and everyone else isn't actually coming to bug you while you're trying to go work on number 2? It sets you up for success. Got it. Now, if this is your day, act like that's a calendar. Do. Now you got to go manage those inflows anyhow, right? So what if you just set your system up so that it was at somewhere in the second half of the day, so that the first half of the day, first things first, that this stuff actually got planned into there. So while you had maximum energy and you actually did quadrant 2 things first, you can set it up like that. Then you can go do those inflows somewhere at the second half of the day. This whole mastery is a gem, is a lifesaver, saves so much stress, overwhelm, and so much time. It's huge and it's so easy to implement. We'll get into other details later, but I'm sticking with the 7 habits for right now. So by doing those couple things, you can stop all this nonsense from hitting you and actually make sure that your mornings are focused on what is this. Now, yes, it's great to have a full tool set, but what really matters is how do you have best practices and agreements which keep the entire system together so you don't have to think about it. So I know that with 4 tools, there's only 3 here, 4 tools, 4 routines, which are 2 daily, 1 weekly, 1 monthly, as well as 1 sheet of best practices, that you could actually keep an entire system together across every area of life and business. But let's keep diving into this. So, as part of my second daily routine, it could be the end of the day. Yes, I know my handwriting's horrible. What if part of my system was to review and reset my number twos. I know that my number twos are easy. One is my health and my self-love in my body. 2 is VA. 3 is relationship and money. Anyhow, I know that every single day I got like 2 to 3 things which are actually the most powerful actions which can move these forward. So what do you think happens regarding habits and behavior, which are the keys to mastery, if I'm actually reviewing these at the end of every night to say, how did I do and get those things done? And I'm actually scheduling those first few things of what to do in the morning. I can tell you right now that I know my health stuff. It's like the number one thing I do. When am I waking up to meditate and visualize based on my ideal self? When am I working out and drinking my water? It's the first 1 to 2 hours of my day, period, end of story, with imperfection. But at least it drives my life 80% of the time. Then I'm right that into the BA world for the next 1 to 2 hours. No interruptions, nothing's happening. People want me, they'll call me. So anyhow, that routine at the end of the day, which a part of it is what I'm calling setting up tomorrow in excellence. I'm relooking at my health stuff, which is like check my meds, which means how's my meditation, visualization, exercise, diet, and sleep. That gets to going first. Cool, what's really going on with BA, double checking it, seeing it there, and just driving that stuff forward. It is that easy. Now, what happens when they talked about the brain? So this gets to be a picture of a brain. This is that side of the brain. This is the other side of the brain. This is your leadership side, which is vision, right? Vision, creativity. It's like the phase 1. Then the next they talk about phase 2, which is the management, the organization, the structure, the how. So many leaders get caught in here, which is this side of the brain, right? So what they talked about in the book was how do leaders get outside of the management role so they can get tapped into the vision and the creativity to make sure that everyone is aligned. Talk about synergy, right? So how do you get from here to over here? Well, a number one best practice when it comes to time management, which is really about saving a lot of time and more importantly, your stress levels and really increasing the amount of time you get to have off and your breaks and life's balance so you have more room for everything that matters. When you start getting all this crazy stuff out of the brain, which is always the tasks in the recurring nature, 10 times out of 10, people don't have a tool or a system for managing the recurring nature of their life, so they're incessantly thinking about it all the time, wondering if they have the nuts and bolts together. But when you start to get that stuff out of the brain, what happens is all of a sudden, literally your brain starts having access to the vision and the alignment, the higher level of the creativity, because you're not wasting time and energy thinking about this nonsense, and all of a sudden your brain starts going like, ooh, I have focus to handle those things. I literally have mental energy and focus. Number 2, crazy. Now instead of thinking about the things that I need to do, it's actually been like, well, what if I did that? What if we did this? How about this idea? How about this solution? Literally, those are the 4 generations. Generation 1, have a tool for your tasks in the recurring nature. Generation 2, planning, calendar. Those are just 3 of the tools. You only need 4 tools, 4 routines, 1 sheet of best practices and routines to keep an entire business and system together. It works. It's easy. It is. There are exceptions to every rule. I'm not going into IBM developing their system and things like that. It just doesn't apply. But more than 80% of the world are suffering from this epidemic and this pandemic, which is overwhelmed, scattered, stressed out, using their brain for the nonsense instead of the higher level creativity and things that are there. Way worse than a pandemic that's happening right now, where then less than 0.2 of the population is really getting anything. Like, this is something where over 80% of the world are time strapped, stressed out, losing sleep at night, wondering if they have it all together, and they're all getting caught up in this giant BS level where they aren't living their end vision in mind, because no one started their business with a vision in mind that they would be trapped in it all day long, buried under the details, not being able to go home to be with their loved ones or not take the vacation and time off that they needed. In fact, even that's not even a fair business model for their entire team. They should be able to leave. Any employee should be able to leave for a while and have at least 80% of their work completed by other people by the time they get back. So 1 and 2 is the tools. 3 is really like a priority, which could be tapped into like first things first, blah, 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 blah. But 4, really tapping into those quadrants to making sure that first things first matters actually is getting done. And when you set yourself up with this system, which reminds you all the time to do it every single day in your behaviors and your habits, the system isn't technological, the system is behavioral. It is that easy to implement. That is all 4 generations of the 7 habits regarding time mastery completely wrapped up. Now, if you think that's a lot of beneficial in how it's going to be driving, what do you think it would be like if you got your entire system together where you had everything out of your head, but not only that, you managed all the crazy inflows, which are driving you crazy all day long anyhow, because face it, it's not GroupMe or Voxer that's overwhelming. It's the fact that you don't have a system to go handle it all, which would easily save you on a low ball from 1 to 2 hours a day. What could you do with that extra 30 hours a month? Where would you go spend it? You'd be go spending on your PC rather than getting buried in your pee all day. That's the reality. That's where a great time management system comes into play, because it's not selling time management. It's selling the savior of your mind. It's saving you from the Monday heart attack. It's saving you from the number 1 of the top 5 regrets in the dying, which is, I wish I wouldn't have worked so hard. It's saving you from not being present, whether it's with your business or the people at hand that you're around with and that you love, or the task of being on yourself. That's what it's saving you from. So, clearly written, legibly, beautifully described, is magic. All right there. But if you want like a full system that's going to be implemented, that will be probably one of the greatest things that you've ever invested in your life, that's what I'm here for. And it's damn well worth it. What is your time worth? What is your stress level worth? What is your sleep worth? What is your freedom worth?